Now the question becomes, what do we do if we have multiple graphs? Well, if we have multiple graphs, we're going to actually shade multiple graphs. So if we look at this first one, we could shade one graph and then shade the other graph. And then what you're going to be looking for is the part where they overlap. In this particular one, it would be this shaded region. So your final answer should only be the overlap of your two graphs when you have two at a time. So you still start by making a mock-up and doing both graphs together, but your final answer should only be where the two shaded portions overlap. So for this first example, I would actually start by doing a mock-up of the graph of both of the first two lines together on a little axis before I draw my final graph, because that should only be my overlap. So let's look at the first graph first. So the first graph is y is less than x plus 2. Well, we have a y-intercept of 2 and a slope of 1, which means we'll go up 1 and over 1. Notice there's no equal to, so it will be a dotted line. Dotted or dashed anyways. Notice I'm going to go ahead and put that line on my final answer because the line won't change. Question just is, what will be my final shading? Well, I need to figure out how this line is going to be shaded, so I need to test a point. Just like I always have, we're going to test the point 0, 0. So we're going to plug in 0 for x and 0 for y. What that will give me is 0 is less than 2. And that is a true statement. 0 is less than 2. So that does mean we will shade the side that 0, 0 is on. So it will look as follows. Next, we want to look at the second graph on the same picture. Well, the second graph is y is greater than or equal to -1. Well, first of all, that's a horizontal line. So we can go ahead and draw that at -1. And because of the equal to, it's a solid line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that on both of my graphs. Now I'm only going to do my shading right now on my mock-up graph that's here on the left. Well, to do that, I have to figure out which side I'm going to be shading. Well, let's test the same point I always have. Let's test 0, 0. So we'll plug in 0 for, well, there's no x to plug in, so just 0 for y. So it ends up being 0 is greater than or equal to -1. Okay, 0 is greater than or equal to -1, so we'll actually shade the side that 0, 0 is on because it worked. That means we're going to shade the top part of that horizontal line. Now, be careful. Now when I go to shade my final graph, I only want to shade the part where I have my overlap, which is the section that is actually shaded twice right over here. So, in my final answer on my final graph at the bottom, I'm only going to shade in that triangle right there. And that is my final answer.